Hello, welcome to Loremaster's Lair. I am your Loremaster, here today for another look at a deity of immense power and strength. Or, cunning and skill to overcome their foes. First, we needed to browbeat their pets, and looks whenever those are necessary. That's right. Last week we talked to the Shackles, and today we find we never left. Say hello to the Pirate Queen Besmara, deity of piracy, sea monsters, and strife. So as always, let's start by telling you where you can find a treasure trove of information on Besmara herself. Basic information, you will find her in the book Gods and Magic for both editions, though there was less booty to grab in 1E, minor deity and all. The Hall of Information first showed on the horizon. That was the first book of the Skulls and Shackles adventure path, titled The Wormwood Mutiny. A second sighting came with the book Inner Sea Faiths. Faiths of Corruption brought with it a small haul, and Planar Adventures is always good for mapping the course. Finally, small tokens will be found in Aquatic Adventures and Pirates of the Inner Sea, for obvious reasons. Besmara is a deity which began from the bottom. She was just a water spirit who was able to gain control over various sea monsters. Her early worshippers prayed to her to keep the monsters away, but often prayed to her to send the monsters after their enemies. She grew in power over the years, but it was not the supplication of scared civilians, but the overwhelming force of victory which allowed Besmara to stand where she currently does. She took on Edda's spirits of wood, of gold, and of battle, and beat them, taking their domain for her own. With their united power, she was able to stand as a member of divinity, if but still a minor one. Now the Pirate Queen, the Black Lady, the Sea Banshee, the Sailor's Doom, sails the seas using the power to take from civilians as she has always done. And so rumors say, is looking for another scroll which will propel her to proper godhood. Now, we are just getting started, but I believe this is a good time for our first side tangent, the part of the show where things begin to heat up. Because Besmara is not the only elemental deity. We have Gaza, and with them we talked about the Aslanti deity Anos. And with the Mwagni expanse, we now have Lubaiko. Lubaiko is a fire elemental, in both the figurative and literal sense. She loves wildfires and explosions, and will start some just for fun. She loves gunpowder, as well as men's clothing, drinking, and sadistic jokes. However, wildfire clears way for new growth, and likewise she sets sparks in the minds of evolutionaries, artists, inventors, and arsonists, to allow them to reach new understandings, and to help these understandings spread like wildfire. Now, many of her followers love power to the point where they do not care if everyone else gets burned to the ground. Back to Besmara, she appears as one might expect of the Pirate Queen. She appears as any human ancestry she wants, though is often depicted as a Kelid with raven hair. She dresses as flamboyantly as possible, with colored pantaloons, black boots, and blousey shirts. So, typical pirate dress. She also often wears a hat, though it changes between a bicorn, a tricorn, or just a bandana. And of course, some common maybes to the daily look include jewelry, eye patches, and swords. And of course, gauze and ghostly fire help the look. Despite being an elemental, she rarely takes a monstrous form, though an angry various sea creatures act for her. Like crabs crawling out of her clothing. You know where her inspiration came from. Besmara is a deity of naval power. While this is mostly pirates, the naval power of the planet causes her power to grow or shrink accordingly. She is driven by strife, and wants to break peace between different nations so that they are too busy to stop her from trying to plunder them. Though she's not a war deity, and prefers battle to be a few ships fighting against a few ships. She's always ready to betray someone when they are no longer useful to her, and in general prefers for her followers to live unrestrained, as she does. She rules over sea monsters, but she does not treat them with respect. She is top dog, and she has beaten all the creatures of the sea to follow her orders. Which brings us to our second side tangent. Two of my favorite examples of sea monsters which are represented as monsters in Pathfinder. Scylla and Charybdis. After all, we have all heard of Krakens and pirates. Let's shake things up a bit. In mythology, Scylla was born a beautiful naiad who was lover of, well, in one story, it has Poseidon, while another is a lover of Circe. Classic mythology, whichever version you want. Anyway, either Poseidon's wife Amphitrite or Circe became jealous and turned her into a creature whose lower body was 6 dog heads at the end of long tentacles. Charybdis, on the other hand, was a daughter of Poseidon who helped him steal land. So Zeus chained her to a rock and changed her into a bladder-like sea creature who was cursed to create whirlpools. Creative. These two creatures were placed at opposite sides of a strait, with just enough room between the two that ships needed to choose to face either the hungry dogheads or the all-consuming whirlpool. Of course, Pathfinder has several of these creatures, unbound, and are technically under Besmara's control, since she does rule all sea monsters, alongside others including Krakens. Some things to roll with in the future. Followers of Besmara include pirates and lovers of strife like war profiteers, dogfighters, and the like. Also some intelligent sea monsters, officials of pirate towns, spouses of pirates, and prostitutes. So pirates and those who profit from pirates. For those who are more piratey, there is a common practice of throwing treasure overboard as a cut to their goddess, or in desperation when help is requested. Sea monsters tend to guard these treasures, and most know better than to try to collect these treasures as their own. Besmara's followers tend to be greedy. Those who do not lust for gold usually sail under a different deity. They take the money, property, and lovers of others as they see fit. They also love freedom and will avoid working for those who tell them what to do. And with it comes the hatred of staying in one place and a need to always go back to the sea. Priests of Besmara are the same as other worshippers, either pirates or those who benefit from piracy. There is a total of 0 hierarchy within Besmara's church. There is no authority other than the goddess. Well, if you're riding on someone's ship, you should respect them like any other crewmate, but religiously, only Besmara. There will also only be one priest on a ship unless the captain wants to fight, so there's also that. Few zealots exist in the faith. They are utilitarian and practical. Their goddess wants respect and a fair cut. As long as they give her that, Besmara is satisfied, and the priest is satisfied. Priests do some work as a priest, but always as a way of profit and not awestruck devotion. Just because they are the intermediaries for the queen, pirates are not going to suddenly be paladins. Besmara's temples tend to be, yes, small priesthoods, not much in need of temples. Most are repurposed buildings or shipwrecks half submerged. Mostly, priests focus on using these places to sell healing potions or maps. And where piracy is frowned upon, well, these guilds can be hidden shrines to Norgabur. Why not a rope shop or a barrel shop to cover for a pirate temple? Shrines are much more used places of worship, being nooks with pirate flags, figureheads, or images of Besmara. These shrines have both a cup to fill with offerings of rum and places to place incense. And of course, priests tend to have portable shrines to take on ships, in the off chance they need to beg the goddess for their life. Which, looking at places where Besmara is worshipped, that brings us to our third side tangent, the Fever Sea. That's right, I am now adding bodies of water to the list of things I need to talk about. Anyway, the Fever Sea is the tropical coastal water. I'll start that again. The Fever Sea is the tropical coastal waters along the northern Arcadian Sea, along the shore of Durand. That is the mouthful. The north is controlled by the Eye of Arbendago, and the south is dominated by the Shackles. Of course, this also benefits the rise of piracy and the rise of storms in the region. This region is also home to thousands of islands, some claimed, some unclaimed, or some only certain pirates know of and perfect for hiding treasure. There are various sea creatures like devilfish and krakens, various water elementals and tritons, and various ghosts and treasures. The Honor Meeting for the former, a famous ghost ship, and the sea monster controlling writhing crown for the latter. And of course, it's also the most concentrated amount of holy grounds for Besmara in all of Golarion that we know of. Besmara prefers to be mobile, and therefore her divine realm is a pirate ship, the Sea Wraith. It lacks a set appearance, appearing as the main pirate vessel of the culture of onlookers. Or, as changing at Besmara's will, even extending to the environment 100 yards around the ship. Part of the ship, part of the crew, am I right? But she spends much time staying in the Maelstrom. She raids every divine waterway across the plains. It's just that the Maelstrom gives more opportunities for someone trying to hide until the heat dies down. Now we go into some spare facts on the Pirate Queen. The center of her worship is, of course, the Shackles, but also spreads across most of western Gorund and the adjacent island of Ilis Magalti. There is no official holiday of the church. Many of her followers celebrate certain dates where the tropical sea menaces ebb and flow. As for her holy text, we have Besmara's Code. This is a few loose pages whose purpose is to instruct the treatment of crew, of treasure, and of captives. Many are written by hand by those who are literate, and memorized by those who are illiterate. Though, Besmara's Code is not the only pirate code out there. Which brings us to our fourth and final side tangent of the day, pirate codes. In our world's golden age of piracy, pirates were not just savages, doing whatever they wanted and ruling by fear. Many captains established pirate codes to give a written record of the rules on deck, the size of each crew's cut, and what warranted severe punishments. And these also exist on Golarion as well. The book Pirates of Golarion has a few examples of pirates. One for pirates, one for privateers, or legal pirates for those who are coming in without that information, and one for general shipboard conduct. Now, let's end this with gods and allies Besmara has a relationship with. For allies, we start with Old Vengeance, a Charybdis who has been a pawn of Besmara since before she was a goddess. The only reason this old monster still lives is she wants to see Besmara die. Black one is the campus, the size of a bear, and encrusted in barnacles. It likes gold, squid brains, and goblin flesh. Usizi is a hard to pin down appearance-wise, described as either a turtle, a crocodile, or a dragon turtle with a crocodile head. Regardless, the beast is worshipped as a god by lizard folks, goblins, and other tribal cultures. And her herald is Kelpie's Wrath. There are many tales of the original creature transformed into this ghost ship. Regardless, the ship is a source of horror stories, and only leaves its interplanar plundering when someone who has blasphemed against the Pirate Queen needs punishing. For God, she tends to be enemy to all lawful forces. Iomade believes she lacks honor, Abadar hates how she disrupts naval trade, Asmodeus hates her disruptiveness in general, and Aristal thinks she should stay in the kitchen. You know how it works. But for allies, Gorm loves her carnage. Gazra calls her sister, fellow elementals. Kid and Kaelin thinks she is hot. And Hanspur sometimes raids beside her when the raiding is closer to rivers. And that covers the Pirate Queen. Of course, the Slippery Dame still has information that eludes us, but we will be able to do a main Starfinder deity look at her someday. For now, she remains shackled to the Shackles, along with this information we had. Next time, speaking of Starfinder, let's get an actual plane out of the way. And no, not the one everyone spent the last month talking about. See you then.